Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first presentation of the 13th Annual CUNY Accessibility Conference. I hope you all enjoyed the warm welcome from our CCSD students as much as I did. My name is Peter Santiago, and I will be your moderator for this session. The session is titled OER and Digital Content, Achieving Accessibility Best Practice through collaboration with faculty, librarians, and the Office of Accessibility. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention a couple quick housekeeping items. Captions are available. You can enable those at the bottom of your screen using the CC button, which is close to the reactions button. If you would like to utilize our ASL interpreters, you will find them in the participants tab, and you can pin them to your screen. We will also have them spotlighted for folks to view. If you require video to sign your question or a microphone to access to voice your question, please make your request in the chat so that we can update your Zoom settings accordingly. Right now, your microphones are off. But as I said, if you'd like to ask a question, please post it in the chat. Our presenters are going to be answering questions throughout, but there will also be a dedicated portion of the session at the end for a discussion and Q&A. This session will go from now until about 1:15. If you'd like to share any relevant resources or links with others, please enter that information into the chat so that I can share that with attendees. And lastly, if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please let us know in the chat so that our tech support team can do their best to assist you. So with those items out of the way, it's my pleasure to introduce Amy Beth, Digital Resources and Scholarship Librarian, and Samuel Finesurrey, Adjunct Assistant Professor, OER Campus Coordinator from Gutman Community College. Amy, please take it away. The floor is yours.
Thank you and good afternoon. And Sam and I, on behalf of Lauren, thank you for attending this session today. Lauren couldn't be with us, but she is due full credit for the work that has been completed here. And also, we will have Lauren's contact information toward the end of the presentation if you should want to follow up directly with her. So, we are colleagues at Gutman Community College. There's going to be some amount of time spent describing our school so that one and all understand the context in which we are delivering. And we're going to give you also background information about the CUNY Office of Library Services and a New York State grant that helped to launch the project, and then as the project further developed, helped us acquire a part-time position holder to bring forth greater delivery with sensitivity to best practices for accessibility. Next slide.
Amy, you're controlling the slide.
You're not able to advance either? Okay, no. I thought you were going to run the slide, so sorry. Okay. Oh, I see it's going to be by touch. Okay, so I am Amy Beth, and I was hired as the chief librarian for Gutman in 2015. And up until this past September, I served in that role. And I was the PI for the CUNY OLS OER initiative, and that's a lot of alphabet soup. So OLS is Office of Library Services. There's a centralized office that takes care of that at CUNY. And OER is Open Education Resources. And the definition and concept with open resources is that they are truly open, and it invites other constituents, it doesn't have to be CUNY, it's global, to adopt what is out there, to modify it, to reuse it, to remix it. They can take parts out, put new parts in, to do attribution of what the source was and where it came from. But the concepts of copyright really drastically move. They often have Creative Commons licensing, and the publishing that takes place in the open arena thoroughly encourages the shared use of created resources. For us, that translates into a phenomenal cost savings for students because they're not paying horrendous publisher prices for expensive textbooks. And sometimes people think of OERs as textbooks, but actually it can relate to lecture notes, it can relate to any content provided in a course management system. So, as a library administrator and as a person who has both had family members with differing abilities, and as a person who is deeply situated in digital delivery, this OER grant was a natural for me to extend toward as part of forward movement for my institution. Prior to Sam working with me, there was an earlier position holder, a man named Ser Rodriguez. And when he needed to go off and do the next great thing, we had had the experience with Sarah of having another library minded person in partnership, but it meant a lot to me to bring a faculty member on board, somebody who was an early adopter of technology, but also someone who was very conversant in the faculty experience of trying to deliver to students. And now I'll let Sam introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Samuel Finesurrey. I am the OER campus coordinator at Gutman Community College. In addition to that, I'm also a history professor at Gutman Community College. And I kind of stumbled into this work because Amy is an incredible innovator and mover of mountains and helped me with an oral history project that is also open access. And then we found ourselves doing this job together. Because of this work, I've been able to work with faculty in the creation of many open educational resources while also authoring a textbook with a colleague on American government and politics and a course on immigrant and Black New Yorkers' struggle for liberation, both of which will be introduced to you throughout the course of this presentation. Amy, you're muted.
Thank you, Sam. So it's always polite at a conference to introduce the speakers, but we're using each opportunity to show you how you can build this on your campus. So the takeaway lesson in this moment is identify early adopters, identify motivated colleagues who wish to not just succeed in their own career path, but wish to invest in the college. So I've spoken a little bit about the alphabet soup of OLS. The state initiative started with SUNY and then moved to CUNY. And the Office of Library Services manages this multi-million-dollar grant. Every campus is eligible for it. Almost every CUNY school sees the money directly in the library, but there are some campuses, and I think Baruch might be an example of this, where the money goes for this Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence or Faculty Development, Digital Excellence, something like that. So it can vary a little bit, but most of your campuses have this money in the library. So at this stage, I am a full-time librarian who has a score of other responsibilities, but one of them is this OER grant initiative. Sam is part-time with his other responsibilities as a faculty member, so he's paid in two different pay pockets from CUNY. And the third is Lauren Capellan, who previously worked in the library at the front desk, and I knew that she had done a lot of work with TED Talks and had worked at Bronx Community College in the Digication, which is course management environment. So I knew that she was also a good pairing. We are now 3 colleagues. I'd say it's still close to just 1 FTE, maybe 1 FTE plus, just given the myriad of responsibilities we hold. I hold the administrative leadership for the project, and that means I make sure the reports are completed on time, that I fulfill the grant expectations, that I attend the appropriate meetings, that I take my position as a library administrator and listen to what's happening at the dean's table. I show up at curriculum meetings. I go to all these places to figure out how our next RFP can best serve the college in the directions the college is going in. My responsibilities are to apply to present at conferences so that we're sharing the outcome of our grant, things like that. Sam heavily develops the professional development content in partnership with other faculty. And Sam also heavily provides us the viewpoint of a faculty member. For example, when we need to see what a faculty member sees in their Blackboard course, or when we need to see what the faculty member sees in Academos, so that when we're looking to see which textbooks are on order and which disciplines we could bring over into OER instead of having the students still get saddled with a textbook. He works with the registrar for some of that data. He works with giving us the opportunity to see in CUNY first the faculty version. And from that, we develop materials, screenshots, and things like that that help us educate our community at large. Lauren exclusively is our accessibility liaison. And I'm going to be describing her work and her role more in the presentation. But Lauren, sometimes she also happens to be a graduate student in the library school out in Queens. So sometimes she can give us the student view as well. But we don't regard her as a student. She's an adult professional who happens to also be an adult student, but has that insight more currently and has always been a CUNY student enrolled for undergraduate, graduate, etc. So that's very useful. We are, it says here 3+ years. We are just completing our 5th year of the grant, and the grant appears that it will have continued funding going forward, which again means the Office of Library Service will take our applications and then distribute us funding if they believe that what we asked for the funding for pairs with the mission and intention. And there's a question of how many years going forward will they continue to fund an accessibility liaison. But the outcome from Gutman has been very strong, and I'm hopeful for one more year ahead. So with humor, we say it is evident that 3 heads are better than 1. We work as a close team. Okay. So this is where I speak more about Lauren. Not to repeat, but it's funded through the OER Initiative Grant. So her line is a college assistant position. And for those of you who may or may not know, with a college assistant position, the regulation in CUNY is that you don't actually have to post or run a job ad for it. You can refer. Now, Lauren was already a CUNY employee, so what we basically did is poached. But in the college assistant position, there's a max pay. She's at the max rate. It's probably 25.21, something like that, but approximately $25 an hour. And I have to ethically ask myself if that's an appropriate pay for somebody with her skills in the realm of accessibility. And those of you who work in those offices know that all hands on deck really help. And anytime you had a skilled person, as Lauren is, for 20 hours a week, you would be grateful to have that kind of help in your office. I cannot firmly say that she is paid enough at 25 an hour, any more than I can say that Sam is paid appropriately for his depth. We are grateful to both of these individuals coming on board, and I think it's that loyalty, commitment to the college growth that allows them to swallow the lower rate than what they probably should get for their skill level. So, when we brought Lauren on, as I said, you know, sometimes you hire for talent and not always the expertise. She was able to achieve becoming self-taught, and I knew that from witnessing her in her prior role. She consulted a lot of the Office of Library Services accessibility librarian, a woman named Amy Wolf, and she's referenced by name on the screens coming up. Amy Wolf had a bunch of checklists of things that should go into accessibility, vetting, VPAT, things like that for OER materials. We looked at recorded conference presentations. We looked at how-to resources. And we asked our Gutman Office of Accessibility, they pronounce it with the inflection on accessibility rather than Accessibility, the Office of Accessibility Services. We asked those colleagues meaningful questions, and they were very warm and receptive, supportive, and certainly they are our experts, and Lauren has been grateful to partner with them. This is not a joint initiative in terms of the funding, but I have always operated that the library and Office of Accessibility should be in deep conversation and partnership with our delivery. So Lauren again had a strong command and comfortability with online environments and content. She definitely came into professional growth on this project, where all of her expert technology was not going to make her an expert in feeling comfortable and confident in guiding faculty, instead of in her previous role where she was at a service desk and was serving them as support staff. Nevertheless, we are in a culture and climate at Gutman that the supportive ways in which our colleagues show up for one another gave her that grace of understanding that this was one of her first times going shoulder to shoulder with faculty, and she was duly welcomed amongst them. Okay, Sam, let's hear your voice a little.
We do have a question about Lauren's role.
Yes.
It would be appropriate for us to ask at this moment.
Yeah.
Rebecca Oling asks, does Lauren go beyond OER, or does she target courses in which there are accessibility issues and connecting them to more accessible content through the library?
Tell me the person who asked that. Did you say Roberta?
Rebecca.
Rebecca, you are spot on with a wonderful question. We came to realize that while we were addressing OER, because we have a responsibility there, that we had access to their Blackboard course shell, and it seemed a pity to not address any digital content. So Lauren shifted from making herself available to faculty exclusively for OER to give me access to anything you have digitally posted, and I will work on that. And that is described in the presentation we're giving today, but that was a very timely and excellent question.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we have the introduction of a new first year experience course starting this year. And Lauren worked with the professors teaching that course to ensure not only that it was open access and zero textbook costs, but also that all of the materials they were presenting would be completely accessible. And so, yes, her work is expanding beyond as people realize how valuable she is to helping in the production of digital content. She's more and more in demand. To give you a bit of a sense of Gutman, it's important if you're trying to duplicate this model to realize that both culture and size matter, right? And Gutman benefits from the fact that we don't have many faculty and we don't have many course offerings in comparison to larger schools. I think that, what's the number? I know it's on a future slide, but I think there are 85 total faculty, part-time and full-time folks who work at Gutman, meaning that personal relationships are able to be developed between myself and Amy and Lauren and the rest of the faculty. And that probably augments their receptivity to what we're presenting to them. Support of faculty is very key. And since the beginning of COVID, there has been 3 different professional development trainings, all of which were funded to pay faculty in the transition to online. We were able to implement OER training into these professional development trainings, and that's had a tremendous impact. Also, we worked during this time to link the ideas of open educational resources to accessibility, to make those 2 things knotted in the minds of Gutman faculty. I'm going to steal the screen share for a second here.
So I need to stop sharing, correct?
I think you're good. Oh, yes, you need to stop sharing. Sorry. And so we can see here, because of this, we've had a lot of, and again, we are a very small school. We have a max enrollment of, I think now the enrollment is under 1,000. And so the fact that we have so many textbooks and things produced by faculty, as you can see here, that are open access, that's a testament to the success of these professional development trainings. I mean, I'm going to try to be the sharer of the screen and see how that works out.
In the meantime, we have another question in the chat,
Yeah.
and this comes from Catherine Wu. How many requests does she receive weekly or monthly? And what is the timeline for review and remediation of the materials for the faculty?
Sam, may I?
Yeah.
So Gutman has a lot of modular education, and there are time-sensitive periods during which faculty need help with the preparation of their course content. I would not say that she gets asked on a weekly basis. I would say that we proactively reach out several weeks before the end of one semester and during the break, knowing that faculty are often really pulling together their course at that point in time. Then her follow-up with them is spread across time, so because it would just be a complete deluge for her to have it all at once. And so the question was how many, well, first of all, we only have 75 faculty. Most faculty are teaching 3 courses, so you can do the math on that. And many of them have already now brought their course into form. The spontaneous request she'll get is if a faculty member is substituting a previous required learning object, because it's not always a reading, sometimes it's a video. And then they'll have her review that one item and stick it back in their course. There was a second part to the question other than how frequently?
I think it was the timeline for review and remediation of the materials.
Oh, so when we go over the step-by-step of how she does it, but from the time that a faculty member has their first meeting with Lauren to turn over a copy of their course to her, she's never working on the active course, she works on a copy of it, she will get back to them within a week. And it could be the whole course. If she needs more time, she'll let them know. But the commitment is a very good turnaround time.
Wow, sounds great. Thank you.
So we were asked to read off the slides, Sam. So do you want to?
Sure. So the enrollment of Gutman at its max before COVID was about 1,000. As you know, all of you, COVID has hit enrollment pretty hard. We've dropped down to about 645 current students. So
our students are almost exclusively New York City public high school educated graduates. And our first year enrollment reflects 97% of them came from New York City public high school. There might be 3% with, one person from New Jersey and several who have just immigrated.
Yeah. Again, we try to meet students with their obstacles outside of school as well. There's a food pantry at Gutman that continuously serves students throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. Again, talking about our size, we are 253 total employees. There's about 100 full-time staff, 78 part-time staff in terms of faculty numbers, and these are generally the folks we're working most closely with. There's 47 current full-time faculty members and 28 part-time faculty members. Again, this size really helps us kind of develop relationships that make conversion to OER and then accessible content much more navigable, I think. And also it allows Lauren to carry the load for the entire college. We have very high graduation rates for a community college, 2-year graduation rates at 30% and 3-year graduation rates at 40%. Do you want me to talk about this a little bit, Amy?
I'll do this office. So I don't know which of our colleagues are with us today, but I do know that Crystal Vasquez has been very involved in producing this conference in the past, and my guess is you're in the audience. So we're going to tip our hat to Crystal and Marianne and Luis and the rest of the staff there. They are an incredible machine. When you look at that 80% of Gutman students qualify for services, that's a really high percentage of a whole college. Even though it says 25% of Gutman students engage in OAS services, that's more of a statistic of are fully registered and utilizing. It doesn't reflect how many of the remaining percentage have a one-off need, lean on, even though they're not fully enrolling in all of their services. So with 3 full-timers and 5 part-time support staff, they have incredible load. And our hats go off to them, but also another thing that has made this service strong at Gutman is that they've had very little turnover for the 10 years that Gutman has existed with its doors open. They've grown a lot, they've had to, but the retention of colleagues is part of the greatness of their office. Next slide. So this is a straightforward statement. Almost all CUNY schools have something similar. I'm going to read it, but I'm going to emphasize at the end the distinction. So please do tune into what is being conveyed here. The Office of Accessibility Services, OAS, works collaboratively with the college community to facilitate equal access for students with disabilities to educational programs, services, and facilities of Gutman Community College. Okay, we're very clear in that sentence about service to students. In another sentence from their webpage, it says, in addition, OAS is a resource for students, faculty, staff, and community services to provide education, consultation, and guidance regarding disability issues. So the second sentence says, we will of course also be available as a resource to faculty and staff. But the lift of being the partners for 75 additional people, which is our faculty, the idea that that office would in any way have responsibility for ensuring that best practice was achieved, that is a tremendous additional arm of work, which is the core of the work that they do, which is making sure that students have the right supplemental technologies, making sure that their courses are paired with what their challenges are so that they can succeed in their courses. Now, of course, the faculty member is involved in that, but they really work at the user end, just to keep that in perspective. Next slide. Peer mentors, student success advocates, and career strategists support students academically, professionally, and personally. So Gutman is a very high-touch environment where we have a tremendous amount of dotted lines to the students coming at them. The object at Gutman is not to wait for student to seek out help, but to proactively be integrated and be aware that they're going to need the help and offer it. So we actually have, if you will, tutors who take the courses with them, so there's no stigma for the student to then go out and look for tutoring. They recognize the person probably by first name and say, you know what, during class, I didn't get this part. Can I come see you, or can you stay with me for another minute? It's really high touch. Created to deliver community college education with a focus on student achievement and timely completion, Gutman's unique and innovative model features, next slide.
I just want to add to that briefly.
Yeah.
Just it's very important to recognize how pedagogy is emphasized at Gutman in a way that is probably different than elsewhere. The paid PDs that I mentioned are college-wide, but more than that, there are also assessment days every semester to review materials for each course, see how things are going, talking to each other. This model of professors adapting to new technologies and teaching strategies, that enhances our work, and creating that culture of care really matters at Gutman. OER benefits from the culture at the college, as does the push to make OERs and ZTC courses, including all of the first year experience classes, accessible.
I want to say to our audience that it would be easy to say, okay, but I work in a big place and this model doesn't apply to us. Sam and Amy keep telling us scale is the variable that really leads to success. But there's no reason to break out a project like this campus-wide. You can start by adopting, the School of Liberal Arts or the science department. You can do it on just the same scale as us as a starting place and build from there. And I really believe in something that I call the contagion effect, which is if you get some faculty on board, they will turn to their co-faculty and say, I used the library, I used the Lauren accessibility liaison, and it was great, you should do it too. That contagion will help the work extend. So one of our big success points is we knew that students tended not to complete community college because they spread out their credits too widely and they didn't stay on a track to completion with getting the credits where they needed it. So our school only offers 5 degree areas, and they are business administration, human services, information technology, liberal arts and sciences, which has politics and philosophy and history, all kinds of things woven into it, and an urban studies track as well.
Yeah, so, and just to pick up on that, for us, that makes our lives a little bit easier. But when we were organizing a professional development training last year, we wanted to meet faculty where they were, right, in their courses. And we realized these broad categories weren't sufficient, because while there are only 5 degree areas, like every college, there are a ton of different course offerings with different disciplines kind of informing them. And so we worked with faculty members in 14 different disciplines to create OER trainings by subject areas, which each one of, I'm sorry, and I'm going to show you what we did here.
While we're switching screens, they really liked it because they were paired with other people looking for these types of resources rather than somebody from a whole nother way of thinking.
Right. So this was the second of the professional development trainings. The first one, we sort of introduced them to what open educational resources could offer their community or their classes. Here we worked with faculty in just sort of generic areas. And just so everybody is clear, we can offer all of everything that we're showing you today is open access, right? So you guys will have access to all of this stuff. It's all on Academic Commons. But we worked with faculty members in biology, business administration, chemistry, English, ethnography of work, which is a Gutman specific class, history, et cetera, on finding open resources in their own disciplines. And this proved tremendously impactful because all of a sudden it wasn't this sort of broad idea. I want to offer, zero textbook cost courses to my students and create culturally relevant material, and then just throw them out into this massive world of open educational resources. It was focused on the courses that they were actually teaching. Within this, Lauren helped organize with faculty members and myself and Amy in OER, making OERs accessible PD to show faculty, all right, now that you've seen all of these materials, we want you to take them and transform them to best suit the needs of a neurodiverse student audience. And the work has paid off. We stand just one ZTC course, meaning zero textbook cost course, away in 3 Gutman programs from offering completely zero cost degrees, meaning zero textbook cost degrees. And that would be the social science track, the science track, and the humanities track in liberal arts and sciences. All of our degrees are a majority zero textbook cost, and almost all of the programs are just a few courses away from zero textbook cost degrees. Again, this means that students will not pay for textbooks at all when they are pursuing these tracks at Gutman. While the ability to convince the remaining holdouts offers various challenges, we're confident in our ability to continue securing converts. This work has proved tremendously impactful during times of COVID, where people are seeking new technologically able ways of sharing resources that they've created.
I think I've discussed that Gutman was born, seeks to remove known barriers to completion. And because we'll be sharing the slides in the interest of time, let us continue ahead so that you learn more about the accessibility offerings that we did. Next slide. So as a proactive measure, we believed that the college could not be doing all that it could for completion unless we were addressing this pivot to digital content complete with accessibility improvement on resources that faculty asked students to use as required. Next slide. There's a picture of Gutman from looking out from Bryant Park on the screen. Okay, just to give you a number, in FY 2021, $224,692 is the calculated cost that students did not spend on textbooks because their faculty members offered OERs in place of the cost of a print or an online physical purchased textbook.
So I just wanted to add one thing. The marriage of OER and accessibility becomes increasingly important at CUNY, given that our students oftentimes are coming from working class backgrounds. Number one, where the cost of textbooks can serve as a major obstacle, but also given that most of our students, at least at Gutman, are coming from either immigrant families or BIPOC communities, it's important to alter or create resources with examples, narratives, and experiences relevant to their lives. In my history courses, we use OER to break away from dominant narratives to tell the story of the United States and New York City through immigrant and Black New Yorkers' struggles for liberation, as opposed to sort of the dominant white narratives. And that's only possible because I'm able to transform the syllabus, able to transform the resources, create new resources to meet our students in ways that they will find compelling.
You can see that Sam is the faculty member.
And this is the course, I mean, that we created, A People's History of New York City is what it's named, right? And it's speaking directly to the experiences of our students. Again, this is one of the innovative things that is happening on most of your campuses, right? Where folks are embracing an OER model. Lauren worked with, should I just go with this one, Amy?
Yeah. Do you remember to describe what's on the screen?
Yeah. So with a colleague, Professor Gary Graves at Gutman, we inherited a problem with the American Government and Politics class that we were teaching. The textbooks that had been being used for this course were upwards of $50, sometimes $100. And so we decided that, and also we're just kind of speaking to, there's a comment in the chat, speaking with the panelists. Oh, okay. We were speaking to the textbooks that were being used are speaking to sort of a generic version of American government that it didn't fully encompass the experience that our students have had with the American government. Often our students are coming from immigrant households. No American government textbook that we had found spoke to that experience. Oftentimes our students are leaving countries that have been impacted by US foreign policy. American government textbooks don't talk about how the government operates as it sort of getting in the way of different societies and creating the necessity to immigrate. So we created this new textbook. Immediately, we had Lauren look at it, and she said, well, this is lovely. It's not going to be able to reach the largest number of students. And so we handed her this. This is the before scene of a few pages from the textbook. And you could see there were issues with the table of contents being too kind of squished and not creating avenues for students to click and go to different sections of the chapter.
Sam,
Sorry, Sam.
Yeah.
But can you describe what folks might see if they were able to see what's on the screen?
So, and also I want to say, Sam, that the issue is how a text-to-voice reader would not take the before content and be able to deliver it to the end user in a comprehensible manner.
Right. And so Lauren looked at this. We are looking at 3 pages from the American government textbook that we created, that we renamed U.S. Government and Politics. What did we name it? Democracy, Rights, Freedoms, and Empire. And yes, so Lauren was thinking about how a text reader would operate with it. Also adding alternate text to images. You'll see here while we put captions in, which Lauren congratulated us on doing. There were no alternate text provided. Instead of having an embedded video, we just had a website that expected students to click on the video. This is mine and Gary not really being familiar with best practices with all this stuff. So what Lauren did is she vastly improved the content. She created a clickable table of contents where you could sort of click and it'll take you directly to a section. Also, it's screen reader friendly. She created it so that the images would show up in a way that were more accessible and with alternative text. She embedded videos directly. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You just need to pause. So as you're describing it, it's useful. We're looking at 3 pages again. The leftmost page is a broken out table of contents. The center page has some text description and shows maps. The presentation is giving one an overview, and the actual captions of what we're looking at are not even visible to Sam or myself. But I do believe that because I'm familiar with the textbook, the 2 images here are showing different types of maps for the Mexican-American War. And on the 3rd page, Sam will have to tell us, there is something about the American Empire and Puerto Rico, and there'll be a video placed into the 3rd page differently than it had been in the previous show and tell of before and after. Please continue.
Right. Yeah, so previously, again, it was a link, right? She taught us to embed videos. She taught us about spacing. She taught us about ways of how a screen reader would interpret something, how somebody who was visually impaired may interpret a text without these sort of changes. Also putting in hyperlinks as opposed to just the www dot. We listened to what that sounded like on a screen reader. And so all of these lessons not only informed what we did for this textbook, but Gary and I have both gone on and produced new content, new OER content. And we've taken those lessons, even though we still check things with Lauren because she's better at this than we are. We've taken those lessons and employed them elsewhere as well. So these are some OER platforms, and what you're seeing on the screen here is 6 different OER repositories. WordPress, Manifold, OpenStax, CUNY Academic Commons, YouTube, which is oftentimes an open educational resource with a Creative Commons license to back that. And that's an option when you post something on YouTube. And then what's PB again, Amy? And another one. And so all of these are places that we encourage Gutman faculty, particularly academic commons and academic works, to submit content that they've created. During the second week in the Teaching and Transition PD, taught in January 2022, the Open Educational Resource Team worked with faculty to take the things that they had developed over the past 2 years, because honestly, faculty members across CUNY have been developing digital resources and then kind of preserving them in, at least at Gutman, in Blackboard shells where only they and their students can use them. We encouraged faculty members to take what they had produced over the past 2 years, lectures, assignments, readings, lesson plans, some texts that they are distributing to their students, and put them on some of these platforms, particularly, again, Academic Commons, which allows faculty members to fairly easily create WordPress sites on Academic Commons that allow students to experience materials in more pleasant ways, I would say. This is, for instance, the same textbook that you saw a minute ago, and it's just, I think, easier for students to often get it this way. And then academic work, yeah.
So again, you just showed a screen that was a zoomed out page from your textbook, correct?
Correct, yeah.
The
So
finished product.
So this is it, and because WordPress is more adaptable than Microsoft Word, videos are directly in here. Closed captioning when you start a video is available immediately.
So that was a video of John Oliver addressing Puerto Rico, was it?
Yeah, so the status of Puerto Rico within the United States, right? Because this is an American government and politics textbook. So all of these, again, all of these 6 offer really interesting ways for faculty members to share their materials, their resources, not only with students, but with other educators. So we, throughout this process, we're encouraging faculty members to take what they've already developed and to share them with a wider audience. However, again, we've been pushing at Gutman to link the ideas of open educational resources with accessibility. We had each of the faculty members who agreed to publish something on one of these platforms meet with Lauren for a session that lasted between 15 and 45 minutes for Lauren to offer feedback and suggestions for remediation on the resources submitted for publication, right? She worked with faculty to make sure that each of the things that they were presenting would be able to reach the widest audience.
So Sam, I'm watching the time. I think the most important slide we can hop to at this moment is, yes, enter the library partnering with faculty. So the OER Initiative Accessibility Liaison, who we keep referring to as Lauren, partners with faculty members who have already created or adopted OERs in their course. We also partner with the academic technology staff to explain our intentions and to be conversant in Blackboard with copying the shell, being added as an instructor, etc. So we have one colleague who helps faculty with all of their Blackboard needs, and so that person understood, why are we creeping into their courses? We brought them into a good understanding of the grant. This is what Lauren goes through when working with a faculty member to bring their course into better or best practice. Can you go back again? Thank you. The first thing is that we have to get their permission to review their course content for an accessibility review. So a direct correspondence goes between Lauren and the faculty member. And I'm always aware of it as the administrator, and sometimes I'm openly copied, whatever. The faculty member gives permission, and then they give further permission for a copy of their course to be made right from the Blackboard course shell. And Lauren then begins to edit that content in order to implement accessibility best practice off of the copy. I mentioned this before. She's never altering anything in the live course. And hopefully the course hasn't gone live yet, but if it has, she's always making a copy. Okay? Then she contacts the faculty member and says, I have completed the review, and she actually does the work. The idea here is not to tell the faculty what they could do to make it more accessible, but to do it on their behalf. And there is a method to this madness. Lauren then meets with the faculty member to go over the edits and the conversions. The faculty member has a very clear comparison of before and after. And they can choose at this point to adopt what Lauren has done without having to do the work themselves. But they don't come away from this meeting just being handed something that's amended. They go through that meeting with Lauren saying, and here is how I did the alt text, and here is how I did this. Sam's going to bring up the screens in just a moment with checklists of things that Lauren goes over with the faculty member to make sure that they have it in hand. Back again where I was, please. Thank you. So we keep a record. She emails a receipt that outlines all the changes that were made. And the faculty member basically gets an inventory. And they can use that the next time they go to do a course as well. The finalized copy of the resource is given to them, as I said, and the faculty member can choose to adopt and replace it or not. Go ahead, Sam. So the immediate questions that happen, and we ask the faculty member to be thinking about this right from the moment that she meets with them the first time. Do images have alt text? Are the colors contrasting or distracting? Are hyperlinks descriptive? Does the layout seem in order? Are videos captioned? And if you'll recall, early on when she was becoming self-taught and she learned off of the good work of the accessibility librarian from the Office of Library Services, which is Amy Wolf, this is some of what she understood always had to be addressed. Next slide. So this one is specific for images, which is different than text. Do all images have alt attributes, including decorative images? Is there alternative text in the alt attribute or surrounding context of image? Is the decorative image listed with the null text, parentheses, alt equals, open quote, close parenth? Are complex images described fully as the image shows? Are group images conveying the same information? If so, do they have text alternative for the entire group? Are there interactive image maps? Are links provided for clickable areas? Is there a description for each individual link and or their purpose? Next slide. And this next slide says questions for accessible Word documents, because I know that most of you are quite familiar with the types of things that would need to be asked, and because I've just read the last two slides, we'll include this in resources that we share with you, but we'll continue with the presentation so you have time for Q&A. Many of the resources commonly used by faculty to construct course content, lecture notes, quizzes, discussion boards use the Microsoft suite. We do show them where the accessibility checker is. We ask them to come into the practice of using it. Next slide. Okay, Sam, I'm going to let you run with this one, and I'll answer the chat question.
So what is on the screen here again is just a before sample of a chapter that was written for the Ethnography of Work textbook. After putting it through, and there was a requirement to add alternative text and then remove a box. Lauren helped us think about why that was useful, and we did that, reformatting the content. Yeah. I mean, do you have anything more?
Well, you just need to tell people a little more about what they're seeing on the screen.
All right, apologies. And so the italicized have been removed. The box was removed. The spacing was fixed so that a screen reader would do a better job of communicating it to somebody who was listening to the text being read. The next slide, we have just sort of again, a pasting of a website, which doesn't tell the reader what the website is about. And so the inclusion of hyperlinks is becoming standard practice at Gutman because of Lauren's influence. And so on the screen now, you could see the altered text where a hyperlink has replaced just a bunch of dots and slashes and a website.
So we mentioned that video content is also a great open education resource, and we're constantly evolving and learning. In the chat, a question was just asked as to whether or not we have begun to do descriptive voiceover for what videos contain, and I answered the chat saying that we have begun to go in that direction. It's actually a second wave of retrospective conversion because it's not where we knew to land when we first came out, and also because there is a skill involved in properly narrating what you see in a video. We did not want to impose sloppy narration of video before we had greater depth and understanding of better ways to do that. Next slide. So we're nearing the end so that we have time for the Q&A. And this slide asks, what happens when the funding ends? So the Gutman Library has had an accessibility liaison for our staff for many years. Our staff doesn't have full-time library colleagues. We have one full-time staffer, 3 full-time librarians. We have between 9 and 12 part-time staff. So this was, again, something that I needed to help the college. The college is birthing itself, basically, understand the value and importance of. So that person was working to make sure that the equipment in the library was understood, that because we encountered students at hours that differed from when the Office of Accessibility was open, we were able to provide feedback to that office and perhaps help them adjust which hours they were staffed. Or that's the kind of feedback we might come forward with and say, we have many more people between 4 and 6 p.m. who need help than between 8 and 10 a.m. who might need help. That type of partnership between the library and the other office is always appreciated because it's a community approach to your biggest constituent, which is your students. So we believe that the college will benefit from an expanded and ongoing colleague. We've been in discussion with the Dean of Faculty, the Provost, the President, and of course in the library. We've been very fortunate to get the grant to pilot this, and we believe that the evidence shows someone within accessibility staffed permanent offering is a critical resource to faculty producing course content. And when it benefits one student, it benefits all students. Next slide. So Sam wants your questions.
So at this point, please post questions in the chat, or if you need us to turn on your audio so that you could verbalize the question, please notify us through the chat.
There was one question in the chat, which the questions that came through the chats were people needing clarification about the company symbols, the branding symbols for Pressbook and Wordbook. But there was another question that I answered. The question was, has there been a consideration? Oh, for videos, I did answer that.
So there's another question posed by Adina. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong.
Adina.
Adina, apologies. So we just started using Blackboard Ally
And we
at
need to
Gutman.
read the question.
Oh, when Lauren reviews courses, are you using the Blackboard Ally pilot at all? I don't think Ally availability is very wide at CUNY right now, but if you have used it, I wonder if it seems very helpful. So my answer as a faculty member would be not yet is it very helpful, although it is helpful in terms of identifying mistakes. It just started the past few weeks at Gutman. We've discussed it. It tells you what percentage of assignments or whatever is accessible when you post something to Blackboard, but it doesn't oftentimes tell you what's wrong or where the correction needs to take place or how the correction needs to take place. We think down the line, it could be useful in conversation with Lauren. And I got a 64% on an assignment. What am I doing wrong? It's saying this, and this is wrong. Lauren, how do I make this better? It is sort of the idea, because the solutions offered at least now are none. And we're assuming that there's still going to need to be some sort of human interaction to improve some of the materials in ways that are useful.
And remember, adding Lauren as an instructor to the Blackboard course makes that sharing moment possible. And when a faculty member can't describe what they're seeing, she's able to go in and take a look at it herself, metaphorically speaking. Is WordPress likely to provide specific guidelines for remediation? We don't work for WordPress, but there is a supply and demand. And as a person who handles electronic resource acquisitions at CUNY large, I will say that each and every vendor has received the message that to not do so is to lose a competitive edge in the market. I know we have an attendee here who is, again, Amy Wolf from the Office of Library Services, and she has a requirement to review the VPAT of all of the products that the libraries are then allowed to spend money on. And it is the case that they're increasingly improving. A good example of it is the MLA Handbook, which is a citation management resource widely used the world over. And they have released a new product, and the first thing they got back to us on is, yep, the accessibility wasn't architected well enough, and we're coming out with another edition.
So I know we're running out of time. Just one more thing that I just wanted to emphasize is, like, in these monthly meetings, we're learning over and over again. OER is happening on all of the campuses at CUNY, and we think it's a really wonderful opportunity to make more content accessible to more people. And we would encourage you all to partner with the folks who are doing OER on your campuses in a similar fashion to what we've done with Lauren.
I support faculty around instructional design at LaGuardia and am committed to promising universal design so all students can access their learning materials. One issue is supporting accurate captioning, both of video developed by faculty and other video they assign. My understanding is that there is no systematic resource for this troubling issue. Sorry, YouTube auto captions or Zoom auto captions do not cut it. Ideas, suggestions.
So you can edit the captions on YouTube clips, which we encourage people to do. It's another step for faculty members, and oftentimes faculty members will point out that they're overwhelmed and this is a lot, but I think it's an important step that everybody is encouraging faculty members to do when they create YouTube videos, to edit the text of their YouTube videos so that on closed captioning it's accurate. Before repost. Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry.
That's fine. So I'm going to put our emails. Oh, Sam has it on the screen. Also in the chat that you can reach out to us.
And if you forward us your presentation, then we can have that forwarded to all the attendees.
Yes. Okay.
So thank you. I think that about wraps up this session. Thank you very much to our presenters from Gutman Community College for a very informative and quite interesting session. It's wonderful what you've been able to do at Gutman Community College. And thank you everyone for coming. We look forward to seeing you at the next session, which you don't want to miss. It's titled Hear Us Out on Being Hard of Hearing in Higher Education. So please join us for that session at 1:45 using the same Zoom conference link you used to attend this session. We look forward to seeing you there, and take care, everyone.
Thank you to our
you all.
hosts.
Thank you.
Peter, I'm just looking at the chat for a moment because I couldn't always look at it.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's difficult to do both at the same time. But it was very great to meet you.
Yes. I've come to this conference having nothing to do with this grant, but only because I've had leanings toward the importance of libraries in the accessibility office. I think 2 other times in room 410 at Gutman. I don't know if you were around for those. I always learn a lot when I come to you. It was really an honor to maybe contribute to the opportunity to learn across CUNY today. Thank you.
Well, I think you very much did contribute. Thank you.
The chat was
This was
full
an
of
excellent presentation. Thank you.
and I love your glasses.
And
Thank you. Yes, my glasses were quite a hit throughout Zoom. And actually, these are my small text reading glasses, but this is how I appeared for over a year on Zoom. I never had to get dressed. I just had to put my glasses on.
yeah, those are great too.
Karen and I love glasses, so yeah, we were eyeing them.
Very nice.
Beautiful.
You were a very
Yes,
patient and kind off a group, and I'm sorry to have eaten into our time early on with the screen share.
It happens. It's okay.
Okay.
Quite all right.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Bye.
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 Okay, Peter, so 1:45, right?
Yes. Though I won't be here at 1:45, you'll have some of my other colleagues.
Okay, we'll miss you.
Great job,
Bye.
Peter.
1:45 is the start, so you probably want to be on a little earlier.
Right. Yep.
Is it
So you need us
1:30?
to open 1:30?
I would
I
say
would say
1:30
yes.
would be good, yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, see you at 1:30.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Can't tell who's talking, but